Oh, Mosquito part 7, take 57. Guys, welcome to part 7 of the Mosquito. Sorry about the bit at the beginning, I'm having so many troubles making the video today. So today we are going to be priming and painting. Before we do any of that, we need to prep the model ready. I'm going to be doing a lot of techniques that I've never done before. Not very difficult, but just that I've never done them before. Let's see how I get on. Sorry guys, that intro caught me out. It seems to have finished a little bit early. Right, so this is the Mosquito as it is at the moment. What I've done since the last video is I've removed all the masking tape, and then I have put some foam into areas that when it comes to painting I don't want the overspray. I'm going to be sticking a mast canopy on the front. I'll explain that a little bit later. And I don't believe this, I do not believe this, I've been so careful with this and I've broken it. Right, I'm going to keep that safe. Sorry guys, I just spotted that just this second. Right, so yeah, so I put, now this is washing up sponges. I didn't have any sponge, so I bought some washing up sponges, cut them thinner, and I put them in there. And then about an hour later I had an Amazon delivery and the thing came with loads of foam. So the black foam is from Amazon and the yellow foam is, but I've used a combo of the two. So as I said, I will be, there's some foam in there, but it's actually fallen all the way through, so I'm going to need to get back, I'm going to get that out before I lose it, and then I'll redo that later. Or is that the foam from, oh, that doesn't want to come out. That must be the foam. Is that the foam from the other bit? Oh well, we'll find out later. Right, so that's got to have some foam in it later. I can't put it in now because I've got to do some prep work there. So what I want to do today is sort out these seam lines. Some of these seam lines I think will just be sorted out with a quick sand. Some might be needing to be filled. Now I did start to make this video and unfortunately all my USB ports went haywire. So I bought these skinny sticks from Ultimate Modelling Products and I started to seam there, and it was actually going quite well. And as I said, what I'm going to do is where I've obviously got a seam line, I'm going to sand and I'm going to work my way through the grits. So this one is a 400 grit, and that's taking it down quite nicely. I think it's inevitable I'm going to lose those panel lines, and all I want to do is just give it a gentle rub until it's obvious that I've met the surface. So that feels lovely actually. And then this bit here has got a slight step to it. Now once I've done this, I'm then going to go over it with the primer, and then I'm going to give it a light sand with a very high grit sandpaper. For those that don't understand sandpaper, the lower the number, the rougher it is, so you'll take a lot more off, but you will leave more scratch marks. So this is why we work our way through the grades. So we first of all start on a rough sandpaper, and then we're going through the grades, we're going a higher number, higher number, higher number. So the first piece of sandpaper is just removing the plastic, and then subsequent ones are then just removing the scratch marks. Now I like that, that's worked out quite well. Not really much to see. I think there will be a slight step there, but I think the grades will sort that out. So I'm going to go up to an 800. Probably should have cleaned it first, but and that's a lot smoother. And then I'm going to go up to 1200, and this should be nearly shiny then. And what we don't want is when we come to put the paint on, we don't want to see scratch marks underneath. Yeah, that's lovely. Ignore the different colour, but you can see that's quite smooth. So we'll then give that a bit of a clean. And I notice most people use IPA, which is fine. I kind of cheat a little bit. Because my paint thinner has got IPA in it, I just use that. It just means I'm using a much lower percentage of IPA, but as long as I get all of that dust out, that's fine. So there we go, guys. That is that sanded out. Now that might show up once we come. I think that will show up, but there isn't a lot of work compared to that side. So let's do the other side. Let's do the other side. I'll leave this bit because I want to show you what I've done. I've actually done it via the super glue method, and what I've done is I've got some super glue gel. This actually isn't stepped so bad. So this is very good for filling minor gaps. And all I've done is I've got a cocktail stick and I've just applied the super glue along the seam like so. Now I don't use accelerator. I know a lot of people go mad for it. The Americans seem to go mental for it, don't they? I find super glue dries fairly quickly anyway. So I'm quite happy to wait, but I actually have other stuff to be getting on. There's quite a bad line on there, so all we're going to do is just apply that, and I've got some detail there, so I want to try and avoid sanding over the detail. Panel line, scribing in panel lines is one thing, but scribing in detail is another. So what we're going to do then is, again, going back to our 400, and we're going to give that a bit of a sand over the seam line. And you know what, that's not as bad as I thought. That's really quite good, actually. I thought that was going to be worse than that. I think that might need a bit of a sand. So because it's got a skinny end, I've got a little bit there. And the reason I can't get the sanding stick in, I've got a little bit of detail about halfway up the nose. So I'm going to just go over this. Now these are quite spongy, so you're not creating a flat spot quite so much. Now that one I'm not so sure about. That's not too bad. And then we'll just work our way down. I really don't like this. This is going to be very hard to do. I might bottle it and just go with it where the actual. Actually, it might not be too bad. Let's go for it, guys, shall we? Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to work my way around the seam, so that'll be all along the fuselage, and then once that's done, this wing should be dry and I'll be able to crack on with that. Okay, so I've done as much sanding as I want to do. I know some of these are going to show as a step, but I just want to pop some primer, and I've actually missed a bit there on the cleaning. I can see some dust. It does accumulate in any panel lines, and obviously it's going to give you a terrible finish when you do it. So I'm going to go for my trusty Steinlerez primer. I can never pronounce this. It's getting low, guys, and I've been watching videos on the AK primer, and it does look very good. I'm actually looking for a primer. I use two primers. I use one for brush painting and I use one for airbrushing, and I may possibly have found my primer, finally found a primer that does both, which makes me very happy. So I'm not going to be priming the whole model. It's absolutely pointless because I'm going to have to prime it again once I've finished the sanding, and I'm not going to get all this I can because I can lift the camera up. Why did I not think of that? So let's get some priming done. Let's set my airbrush up. I do like to set my airbrush so I don't get full. Yeah, that's quite a lot coming out of there. I only want a little dusting. I'm not blasting it. So all I'm going to do is where I've sanded, I'm just going to go over it. Just a little dusting, that'll be fine. And then I'm going to try and control it as well. So I'm going to sand all of this back. So there's no point blasting loads on. We can put a bit more on than that though. I can control the airbrush. I actually choose not to. This is the thing, isn't it? You get a tool that helps you, and it just, you know, it makes you lazy, doesn't it? That's looking really nice. Really, really nice. I'm still going to sand it back, but I think I'll get away with, there's hardly any step there at all. I mean, if you were a perfectionist, you would say that's terrible. But it's actually not too bad. I'm quite happy with that. Unfortunately, because it's primer, I've now got to leave it. Got to really let it set. What do they call? Cure. But yeah, that's nice. That's looking really good. Really, really happy with that. It's going to look lovely when it's painted up. I mean, it looks lovely before it's painted up, but when it's actually in its colours. And of course, I've got something new to learn. I know how to do black basing. It's really not a problem. And black basing seems to work really, really well when you are doing one colour, because you go over the whole lot in black, you put some white on to create grey patches, and then you spray your one colour over. But when you are doing camouflage patterns, it's invariably going to overlap, and it's that overlap that's going to lose that colour. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I don't think I'm actually going to go over it with, oh, there's one bit I missed, and that's these bits. These didn't sit right. I didn't check them properly when I glued them together, and I didn't keep a good enough eye, and I think that they're a little bit out. Right, guys, that is, do you know what? I've got a bit of primer left in the cup, so I'm just going to use it up, but I didn't plan to. I haven't got a lot left, so anything we've got, in fact, it looks like I have, no, it's the way I'm holding the brush. Tell you what, we'll thin that down a little bit and we'll get some more out of it. No, I thought we had a block. Yeah, it's very, very thin, but might as well try and use it all up. I keep turning my pressure up. So I wouldn't normally prime all of this, that wasn't my intention, because I'm going to have to prime it again. But, you know, I've got a little bit left in the cup, so I might as well use it. I won't get the whole thing done, but I'll certainly get the first dusting done. Use it as target practice, because certain areas I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. I should have done the bottom, shouldn't I? That would have worked better. Just got to be careful near the nose. I haven't masked the nose off yet. I think that is it. Right, okay guys, so I'm going to let that dry and then we'll just run over that with a little fine sander and we'll see how much work I've got left to do on it. But I think I'm practically there. Okay, so I've just changed my mind about 15 times over how I'm going to do this. I was going to do all the black basing, and then I thought, well, then I'm going to have to do the grey bits and the green bits separately. And really what I'd like to do is go over with the grey and then go over the green. So what I've decided to do, I'm going to cut the white stage out. I'm going to go straight in with the all over with the RAF Ocean Grey. This is AK11842 RAF Ocean Grey. And then what I'm going to do is I'll go in with the green, the RAF Dark Green, AK11840, and then I'll go back over and I'll just lighten up each of the individual, a bit of precision work. What I'm also going to do, I've looked at the guide, and I'm going to freehand it because it looks like the black starts along this line and then comes up there and then it goes straight down there, and it's all coloured on the top, all black underneath. So I'm just going to take the grey and the green a little bit further down and then I'll mask it off, and then I'll go touch up with the black when I come to do the bottom. So we will hopefully have most of that done. So I'm going to thin this down about 50-50. We'll see how it goes. It may need more thinning, and I do my usual method. I pop a little bit of thinners into the bottom of the cup, and then I put a load of paint in, and then I put enough thinner in, and I'm eyeballing it. So that's all. And then so long as there's colour coming out, and if I've over thinned it, it just means I have to do more coats. But what I want to do is I don't want it too thick. Right, so oops, I spit when I talk, so I got a little bit. So we're going for the all over coat now. Nice, nice. You see, it's that very thin coats. You can see that there's grey on there, but it's just really not covering very well, and I just want to build those coats up. In fact, actually I think that's a little bit thick. That's just coming out slightly speckly. Okay, I am happy with that. Very happy with that, apart from that little bit there. I can always go over that later. Right, I cannot do anything now until I've let that sit. That has to fully cure, because if I put anything on it, when I come to pull it up, it's just going to pull all the paint off. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do some more work tomorrow before work, or tomorrow after work, or just leave it for my next day off. But I'll see you in a second anyway. Okay, so it's been sprayed in the grey. I'll be honest with you, the finish isn't perfect. As you see, there's a few light and dark patches. I don't think it's going to make a major difference, because we're going to be adjusting the colour later on anyway. Now, unfortunately, when I recorded this bit, the sound went funny, so I can't show you what I've done. But what I did do was, Tamiya provides like a painting guide in 1:1 scale for the model, and what I've done is I photocopied them, and then I've cut them out so that they fit onto the model. So what follows in the next scene is a speeded up version of me cutting them out. Okay, so after cutting out the camouflage and placing it on the Mosquito, this is roughly what we get left with. What I'm then going to do with each section is I'm then going to cut down the actual camouflage further, and what we want to do is this bit I've actually missed out. So what we want to do is mask off where the lighter areas are, because that's the dark grey, and then we want to leave exposed the darker areas. So what we can do, two ways to do this. One, we can either I really need to get this warmed up, guys. It's just not seem to be so pliable. So the method I'm going to choose is I'm going to run this blue tack along the edge of this piece of paper. It doesn't have to be precise, it just has to be a general RAF pattern. There we go. So then we can line this up, and then we'll pop a tiny bit on the end, like so. No, I don't need to do a bit on the end. So then we can lift that off, and then that's the grey bit done. And then obviously we need to just make sure all of this grey is covered, and then also we need to mask off. Let me take this off. I mean, we could freehand it. I really don't want to freehand it. I'm not confident enough to be freehanding. So there we go. So then we can just try to get this bit. Right, I can then fill that bit in. Doesn't matter what you mask it with. It would probably be easy if I did it with paper, but that bit's too fiddly. Okay, and then guys, doesn't even have to be neat, guys, just as long as we get the coverage. Some people use silly putty, which apparently is very good, and that's fine. Just going to stick this bit of paper down just to stop it from. Okay, so that is that tail plane done. Then we need to do the same for the next tail plane. Then we'll work on the wings, and then we'll work on the body. And I think, because the body looks quite complicated because of the way that the pieces of paper are, as you see, look, it really needs to wrap around like that. But I think once we've got the wings on, we could probably freehand the wings with blue tack anyway. So I'm going to crack on with that, guys. So guys, a very quick change of plan. I am going to freehand it. The reason I say I'm going to freehand it is I've just told you I'm not confident enough to do it, but I've also said, when other people say I don't think I'm good enough, I say, well, you don't know till you give it a go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each piece out, I'm going to place it where it should go, and then when I come to actually paint, so like this bit for example, I can then remove this bit, and then I know where I need to go, and I'll try and freehand it there. I mean, I can even use that as a guide. In fact, I might be able to use that as a guide. So yeah, I'll have a little go at freehanding it. So right, I'll get on with cutting up the masks. So I changed my mind again on how I'm going to do it. So what I'll do is I'll show you what I've done and I'll explain how I've come to the process. So I've actually masked off the bits that I don't want to paint, and this is how I've done it. So we take the mask and then we cut out the individual colours, and then using masking tape I'm going to start at this end because that will be a lot easier. So you take the piece that you want to keep. Now you can either make the mask from either side, but obviously this is the piece that I want to keep grey, so I need to make the mask to finish there, so we'll mask off this side. If I'm doing it from the green piece, then obviously I'll make the mask there and we'll cover that side. So I'll maybe see if I can do both. Don't forget to remove the bit of blue tack or white tack. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a piece of masking tape long enough, and then I'm placing the end of the tape so that it covers as much as I possibly can. So I think that will be fine, and then cutting the end to shape, and then I'm cutting the masking tape along the shape of the mask. Now the reason I come to this thought was I did that first bit which you saw in the last piece, well I'm calling it the last clip, and then I went to work and I've cut that too close. Okay, I'm going to have to start that one again. So yeah, I'm travelling, I'm at work, I'm driving, and I do a lot of thinking while I'm driving my buses. And I thought, well hang on, this is paper and we're using a water soluble paint, so I wondered if the paint might soak through the paper. It probably won't, but I know it'll be absolutely fine with masking tape. So what I'm doing then is I'm just cutting the shape of the mask. Don't forget to get down the side here and be careful with your knife. Now you could pin down this piece of paper, but I'm just holding it down, and then what you'll end up with is the shape of, so I don't know if I just covered all of that on my head. So this should then be the exact shape you want for hair. Place it on gently and get one end perfect, and then work it from there. Say, it doesn't have to be precise. Okay, and then we can mask the rest off, or put paper or whatever you want to put on. I'm just using masking tape because it's just so much more convenient, but obviously it's quite wasty. Like so. I mean, if you can find an easier way, drop me a comment, guys. And then what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to trim a lot of the excess off, just so it's easier to work with, but I'm not going right up to the edge of the aircraft. And this is going to work well for this because it's only got camouflage on one side. Obviously if I had camouflage on both sides of the wings, it would have to wrap around. But yeah, so, and then that's that piece done. So then when we remove the piece that we do want to paint, you can see then we've got the mask. Now some of these will have to be worked from the green piece, some are going to have to be worked from the white piece, but I'll kind of figure it. I think to do this one, I think the way I might have to do it is do it in an odd shaped piece. The only trouble is you do get these all these bits of masking tape stuck to the table. So we'll stick, lost the end look, so we'll stick that piece down like so, and then we'll work a piece across there, and then we'll work a piece down there. Cut that across there. So that side done. Just be careful with the knife, guys, because as you know, this is actually a surgical blade. This is what surgeons use to cut people open with, so it will have no problems cutting through your thumb or finger. Right, I think that's all cut. So remove the excess. There we go, that's left us with a piece of mask. And hopefully this will work. As I say, we'll place one end we'll work it, oops, not stuck down enough. It's not the exact, because of the way I've placed it, it's not the exact same shape, but it's okay if you're not a rivet canter. Okay, and then I'll remove that piece there, because we can get that bit there from there, and then mask off any bits that you think is going to suffer from the overspray. And then this will do one of two things. Firstly, I want to try and do it freehand. I'm not sure if I'll be able to, but I also want that security of it being masked. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to attempt to do it freehand by painting up to the lines. So I'll just paint. I'm going to try not to go onto the masking tape. If I fail and it goes over a little bit, then all is good because I got the masking tape there. Right, I think that'll be fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spend a bit of time off camera, and oh, I need to put that back on actually. I think when I come to actually place this, I need this guideline, so that needs to go back on there like so. And this is the next piece that we're going to work on, and I can either cut two sides from this white piece or I can use the green piece. Right guys, so I'm going to get on with that, and I will see you when the wings are marked, and I'll probably do the tail as well, and then I'll meet you in a little bit further down the line. Right, so this is the masking finish. Now what I've done, I'll use some of the spare copies. I've cut all the bits out, and as you can see, it's all masked. All the grey is masked off, and the wings are all right, the tail plane's fine. I got a little bit confused. Obviously you can see how the colours flow, but when it comes to the tail plane, you can see this bit's going to be green, but it just doesn't match. It doesn't match with the other side. So that is how it is. I have done it correctly, but it made it a little bit tricky doing this bit. So what I've done is I've masked one side off, then I've masked the other side off, and then I've just got a little bit creative and joined them up, kind of freehand masking, if that makes sense. If you look at the actual reference, you'll see it's not spot on, but it's not a million miles away. Can you see where the green bit comes down there? So it is going to be a little bit wrong for the benefit of the rivet counters. For the benefit of the fun modelers, it's absolutely fine. Now all we need to do now is spray that green. Now, because of the mistakes, I've made some dribbles and things and some overspray. I'm going to do the black again. So I'm going to bring the green down too far, and then once I'm ready to do the black, which will be tomorrow for me, I'll mask off where I want the black to finish, and then I'll do the black. So the next step then is going to be doing the airbrushing, and the colour I will be using for that will be REF dark green, and trying not to get any on the paint. That's the contrast we'll have. Probably can't see that. So hopefully that will work out absolutely fine. Okay, so what I'm hoping to achieve is just layering on very thin layers. As you can see there, that's quite thin, and we'll just build it up slowly. I'll do one section at a time, and hopefully it'll come out. I mean, I may have to do 4 or 5 layers, but if that's the case, and now as soon as I start painting, it's not coming out. There you go. Look, that's just the first layer. I don't want it too wet. I just want to build that layer up nice and gently. Nice, happy with that. And then on to the next bit. Oh, that's come out quite thick. Just nice and gently. Find another section to pick on. Might be just allow a little bit more than that. And I said I was going to be practicing my freehand. Then I can go back to my... Oh, that's come on a bit thick. Let me just back that off a little bit. Because I have this, I've become quite lazy. I should learn trigger control. There you go. I think that's okay. But because I'm doing smalls, that's not come out very nice actually. Let me just give that a quick wipe. I think I just have a bit that's just come out a bit thick. So yeah, so we'll just build that up, and then once that's dry I can go back to it. So I'll come down to the other end. I know some people just blast the paint on and they get away with it and it looks really nice, but this is my first REF camo, so I just want to see how it goes. If it takes me extra length of time to do it, then so be it. Some came out a bit thick there, but I think I got away with it. That might be a problem. Okay guys, so I'm just going to carry on doing this, and then we'll see what we come up with. So the final coat has naturally dried. Obviously what I've been doing is drying it with the airbrush as I go, but the last coat I just let it naturally dry. It's been a while, so the only thing I can do now is take the gamble and remove the masking tape. Once the masking tape is off, I can't do all that again and get it exactly the same. So let's see the result I've got. Do you know what, guys? That is okay. I am really happy with that. That's nice. Now obviously if I free-handed it, I would get a slightly fuzzy line. I believe on the actual full-scale real thing they would be fuzzy, but I think my opinion is by the time you scale that fuzziness down, it's going to be fairly straight anyway, and this masking tape isn't going to be. What has that gone a bit yellow, or is it just my imagination? That I'm okay with. I am really okay with that. That is really, really nice. I'm going to use tweezers because some of these are a little bit tricky to get into. Get the tweezers and just pull off a little bit so you can pull it off. Try to avoid making contact with the paint with your fingers. But yeah, no, I'm really impressed with that. That has definitely worked. Yay! You can't see it on camera, guys, but I've got a big grin on my face, and I think it's deserved. Right, so I'll try and time the talking with the masking tape removal, but I can't do anything to this until overnight. I don't want to put any masking tape on that freshly painted area. Obviously I need to tidy up the black bit, which I will probably do with, I don't know whether to use paint or primer. I don't think it's going to make a difference. But that, do you know what, I am really happy with that. Really, really happy. That's come out really nice. I mean, I think we kind of knew it would work, but until I've actually done it. This is my first RAF camouflage, guys. I think next time I do an RAF aircraft, I might actually try and freehand it. Try not to damage the paintwork that's already there. The green is going to be very, very easy to damage because it's only been sprayed on a little while ago. The grey has been down for a good few days. I can't always, like, I've actually hit a bit of the paint there. Would help if I used better tweezers, wouldn't it? So a little tiny bit of damage to the grey, but that's where I've caught it with my fingernail or the tweezers. That's not anything to do with the spraying. That is really nice. I'm really liking that. I know I'm sounding like a broken record now, but yeah, what do you think, guys? Leave a comment. I know I keep asking you to leave comments. It's easiest if I take it from the bottom. I can see that that stand is just catching that, and it's just rubbing the paintwork off. So until I varnish this, I'm going to be have to be careful. So question for you guys, after I prime it, would it be any benefit if I applied a little bit of varnish and then did the camouflage colours? Do you think that might protect it more? Do you know what, I'm going to get a different set of tweezers. That's not making much difference, is it? The more masking tape I peel off, the nicer it is. Just trying to find the ends of it. I think that might be worth experimenting with the varnish. Prime it and then varnish it. See if that makes any difference. Or if I'd varnished it after I put the grey on. This is where I had to get a bit creative with the masking tape, and I had to stick little tiny bits on to fill gaps. But I think it's worth the, really do think it's worth all that effort. Very, I missed this bit here, look. But I see, the thing is, if you make it easy for yourself, thinking I'll use that as practice, because you made it easy, you tend to sort of take the cheat way. I did intend to freehand this to try and just go up to the edge of the masking tape and see if I could do it, and in the end I just went, let's go for it. Come on. How much more pieces of masking tape could there possibly be? I think this is the last piece. Oh, I can't get that last piece off. There we go, that's all the masking tape off. So I don't think that's 100% perfect there, but it looks okay. I don't think the line has flowed properly. That's my masking, but actually that's okay. I think if I didn't tell anyone about that, I don't think anyone would notice. I'm still not sure about the tail. Do you see how the tail doesn't match? It just there's a border there, but I am actually really chuffed with that. So what I need to do now, what I need to do now is, you see where I've taken the grey and the green down too far, and that was on purpose. So what I need to do now is mask off across there, redo the black on the bottom. Then I'll apply a gloss varnish, and the reason I'm going to do the gloss varnish is because decals or decals, I say decals, but the decals will be next, but I'm not going to be doing the decals until the next video. This piece of masking tape is hanging, look. I'm going to have to reapply a piece on the end there. So yeah, the next I mean, I need to leave this overnight at least, because I don't want the masking tape to pull off all that lovely paint. But yeah, I am really happy with that. Really happy. That's come out. It's come out exactly as I would like it to have come out. But because I probably have a few doubts about my ability, it's come out better than I expected. So I'll see you in the next scene, when I'm going to mask out the bottom, redo the black, and then once the black is done and dried, we can do the gloss varnish. Okay guys, just a very quick one. It hasn't been overnight yet, it hasn't been long enough to dry, but I was kind of preparing things for the next session, and one thing I had a little play at was I popped a little bit of masking tape on, and then I ripped it off very quickly, and as you can see, no damage at all. However, I did notice a couple of bits where I just caught it. It's just caught the green, and there's some bits of grey as well, which is repairable, as you can see. Like, I've painted over it, but it is concerning me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a quick blast with, before that, I noticed I'm doing the wrong colour scheme. Well, I'm not doing the wrong colour scheme, but you can see that I've painted it in order to do all of this and all that trouble I had with the tail. But of course I'm doing this version, which means the black is going to come up quite high, and all that tail plane is going to be covered in black, which means I need to mask this little shape there. That's what I was kind of playing at. But all of the upper surface that you can see, most of that is all of that is going to be taken down. I do want to protect it as much as I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give, without touching it, leaving it on the frame, everything that I can see, I'm going to give it a quick blast of matte varnish, and then I'm going to leave it overnight, and then we'll do the masking, and then anything that I catch, because like this area here where I caught the green, let's see, I've got a patch there that I've caught, but the green actually didn't affect the grey underneath. So if I do catch it, it's only taking the top layer off, and this should protect the paintwork a little bit better. Great resistance to impacts and scratches 24 hours after application. So I'm just going to pop a little layer on, and then I'll leave it overnight. We'll do the masking. So it's been overnight, and I've now masked off half of it for the black priming, and so let me explain how I did this. So first of all, I made this piece here. Now I was going to make it on camera. I did a little practice piece. It came out so well that I've left it. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of masking tape that's a little bit too big, because we can always trim it down, and let me just bring that in closer. So what I've done is I've cut an angle, and then I've cut another angle about the same, like so. Then I've rounded that off a little bit, and then I've just kept cutting round until I get a shape that I'm happy with. Then I've just cut that a little bit narrower. I think my knife is getting a bit blunt now. I have done a lot of cutting on it. So I've just cut it narrower. This bit isn't the piece I'm actually going to use, but it's a good demonstration. And then what I've done is I've then just cut a bit smaller, just to make it a bit more manageable, and then that is roughly my piece, which I've then stuck on there. Next, I've got my thinnest tape that I own, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece. Let me just bring my camera out now, because that's too close for what I'm showing you. So from the corner of the window there to the corner of the cockpit there, and I want to run that all the way down. So roughly slightly too long, if that makes any sense. So what we're going to do is going to run that from the corner of the cockpit to the corner of the window, like that. And if there's any excess, you can always cut it off. So next, what we're going to do, this one is the slightly trickier bit. We're going to get our thin tape, because the 12mm is too big for this piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to run from that corner that we've just laid down to, aiming for, let me get my reference, we're aiming for back here, but we're stopping there. So again, roughly slightly too long. Okay, and we want, that is actually roughly too short. So there we go, guys. So we're aiming it to go from that corner through there to the back there. As long as that's straight, that's fine. Once we've done both sides as we have done there, we can then mask this bit off however we want to mask it off. So I'm just going to cheat. I say cheat. When I say cheat, I mean it's a little bit wasteful, but that bit's going to be a little bit too wide. So I'm just going to cut a little angle. So yeah, it's a little bit of the expensive way of doing it. It'd be much easier to use something else, but let me just move my camera up, guys. I've not really got enough working space. There we go. And I'll just fill that in with tape. Just want to cut a little bit for that bit that I've missed. This is where my masking gets scruffy, because I miss little bits, so I end up cutting little bits off. So you'll find little tiny scraps of masking tape all over my desk. Okay, happy with that top bit there, and then I'm going to cut maybe 3 strips off of about that length. And I'm sorry that this video's going on a bit. It's probably one of my longest videos for a subject that we're only doing a couple of little things, but that's how it goes, guys. The next video we're going to be doing decals, and I'm trying to work it out that it's going to be quite short, but at the same time it's going to have everything in it that we need to cover. I'll be doing a little experiment with you as well, guys, so I think that's going to be quite exciting. And even at the time of saying this, I genuinely don't know how the experiment's going to go. Right, so that's the middle section taped off. The next bit I think is perhaps one of the harder bits. We need to mask off the tailplane, but we really need to get along there. So we want to paint the body red, black, sorry, but we want to leave the both the ailerons and the tailplane. And as you can see, oh no, that's going to be left black. So we need to just take this off. So the way we're going to do that, the first piece I think is critical. We want to just butt that in as close as we can, and that's actually quite typical of me. As I'm telling you to be careful, it actually goes in spot on. So we need to just keep placing that and moving it ever so slightly. Can you see that there's not really any overlap with the actual body? And then I want to just trim a little bit of that back because I don't want to obstruct the body too much. So should use scissors for this, but you know me. Okay, and I actually forgot to do this side, so we'll try and do it, but I'm right-handed, so this side's going to be easier. So we have, the tape is overlapping, is hanging over, but it's not obstructing the body too much. And if we do miss any of the body, I can always touch that up with a little brush. So off camera I will just continue doing this bit, so all I'm going to do is just stick little strips there. So next up we have got the wings, and again this is, I'm just going to put an extra piece of tape on there, guys, because that's just lifting slightly. Right, so from what I can tell, masking off the engines is really easy because it looks like the black stops. Can you see these three little rivet marks? That line there is included in the black. So we're going to mask so that we can just see those rivet marks, but that's where the masking tape is. So let's get a piece of tape that's roughly slightly too long, and we are going to follow that line, sticking the masking tape down, and I would say that's absolutely perfect. There you go, guys. And then obviously we're going to do the other side. The by the way, the what do you call it, the varnish, I think that's worked really well. Just before I started filming, I scratched a little bit of the green right in the middle so that it can be resprayed if it all goes wrong, and it went really well. So that's that side done. That went in a little bit too easy, and then I'm just going to put a bit of tape on the top, and then the last tricky bit we need to do is along this wing where the wing meets the fuselage, and unfortunately this needs to be done in one strip, otherwise we run the risk of having angles. We can bend this a little bit. I know that this isn't dubbed as bendable masking tape, but it has a little tiny give, and on this model that should be enough. Right, not happy with that. Okay. There we go. So you can see, like, just a couple of creases where I've bent the tape around. Not an awful lot, but there is definitely a bend in it. And then all I need to do now is follow the edges of the wing, masking it off. And as you can see there, rather than putting lots of masking tape on, I've just cut a piece of paper out and I've blue tacked it, and then that should protect the rest of that. So I'm going to do that bit speeded up. Okay, so there it is mucked, masked off, and yes, I did muck this up. I cut the piece of paper, and I cut the piece of paper too small, so I thought, oh, I'll just mask a bit more off, and then it just all came out of shape. So in the end, I just went for it, and I just masked a whole lot. But what I did actually plan is that this wing looks something like this. Right, that is it for that. So what I'm going to be doing now, and I will do it speeded up because it's nothing you haven't seen before, but all of this that's exposed, I'm going to do black. So you'll see that I've got all of this camouflage to cover up there, all of this, and then it gives me the opportunity to redo this bottom bit. You see I had a bit of a mess there with spillage, and yeah, so I'm going to go for it. So I'll see you shortly. So this has been giving me more trouble than it's worth. The airbrush is blocking up, which I've cleaned it well now and it works fine. You'll find that like 70% of your airbrush problems are due with cleaning, so I will admit it wasn't cleaned properly. So what I'm going to do now is remove the mask, and hopefully I've sprayed it fine. Oh, one other thing I meant to mention was when I was doing the tailplanes, the coverage just wasn't there. I think I just kept thinning the Havilland black so there was no coverage, and of course when you spray it on it all goes black, and then as it dries the colour underneath starts to show. So just for speed I went over it with primer, but I think it'll be fine. Right, I'm going to get this unmasked. Okay, I am actually genuinely happy with that on the whole. That black line has come out nice and straight. There's a little titchy bit there, which I think I will go over that with a brush. I'll just brush on some primer. The engines have come out perfect. Look at that. It's quite solid in those little joins. Little bit of it's come off there. The nose is fine, I'm happy with that. There's a little tiny bit there that I've missed. I've over masked it, so I can just touch that up with primer. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. That's really nice. So what I'm going to do, doesn't it look funny being able to see the black from the top though? But it is accurate. Oh, got my finger stuck in a piece of paper. So as you can see, it is fairly accurate. This one, the line goes down the centre. This one has no line at all. And this one, like, you can see the black from the top. Yeah, I'm really happy. Right, guys, the next thing I need to do is to apply a gloss coat over the top. Now varnishing is nothing you've never seen me do before, so I'm going to do that off camera. Before I do that, I'll just touch up these black bits with a brush. Again, I'll do that off camera, and then I will catch you in the next video. One other thing to mention, I said before I was getting little scratches on the bottom, and I wondered if it might have been from this. This is absolutely brilliant. I think I got this from the Model Nerd, but what I've done is I've just cut some little strips of foam and I've just stuck them on the end, and as you can see, oh, A, it's gripping it a bit better, B, it's not giving me any scratches. So guys, thank you for persevering with this entire video. I will catch you in 2 weeks when we will be putting on some decals. Take care, guys.